What's happening, Facebook? Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Today is Law 17, the Law of Priorities. So we're going to invite some people over here. Welcome, welcome. How is everyone? Christine is here. Welcome. It's noon already. Can you believe it? And it's the 24th already. Of July. Things are moving. Benny's here. Awesome. Bess is here. Hello. Just inviting Bess on. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey everybody, welcome to this Facebook Live. Fix the hair. Oh well. Welcome to this Law of Priorities today. Law number 17 of the 22 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. So very exciting one. We are Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network, Certified John Maxwell Trainer, and Bess McCarty of MLM Millionaire Club School for Network Marketers, joining to present these to you today. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, empower, and equip entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. I know that I have just studying these laws, let alone teaching them, has made me a better person. And some of the other comments that we've heard from people is, I've gotten a lot of good of these live events. That's from our friend Athena Shade. Thank you very much for sharing these with people. And from Patrick Christensen, I was not having a good morning, and listening in helped me to focus. So we have been getting comments like these, and we're so glad that these are helping people. We'd love if you're typing replay if you're watching the replay, type that in so that we can thank you. And if you know someone who would get benefit from growing as a person, let alone a leader, this is just making me a better person, a better friend, neighbor, let alone in business. So it's for all of these, especially the law of priorities today can apply to you as a leader, but for everyone as a person, because we never outgrow our need to set priorities every day and check our actions and make sure they're lined properly according to what we really, really want. Right, Jeff?
That is correct. So are we ready?
Ready, Freddie?
So here we go. Law of priorities. I'm going to go ahead and put my notes up here so that way I can kind of look and stay on the screen here. A leader is the one who climbs the tallest tree, surveys the entire situation, and yells wrong jungle. It's kind of funny that people would say that, but I've known, people going in the wrong direction, and everybody kind of gets on board with it, and everyone is kind of headed in the wrong direction, and they're like, wait a minute, that's not even the direction we should go. And you'll find this, with a group of friends walking around a park or something like that. Somebody's been there before, and everybody's like, hey, let's go this way. And you're like, guys, if you want to leave, it's the other way. So it kind of takes somebody who's been there sometimes to be able to lead the way. So what we're doing is going through the law of priorities. It says learning the law of priorities. Leaders understand that activity is not necessarily accomplishment. So sometimes people can get really busy inside of MLM, meaning they'll organize their books, alphabetize their books and stack them. And I've known people who organize their magazines into one pile and organize their DVDs into another pile and organize their personal development into another pile. Unfortunately, those are not necessarily the activities that are going to help you make money. So it's, being able to not only find the right things, one of my mentors, David Bird, said, part of what we need to do is, first of all, find the right things to do. Second of all, do them consistently. And then third, long enough to actually see the results. When I asked him, Is it really people just don't stay consistent long enough? He kind of laughed and said, no, it's actually they never find the right things to do in the first place. So it wouldn't matter what they're doing consistently. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It says this law actually determines our effectiveness. So it's about working smart, not necessarily always working hard. Living the law of priorities said this law is the lever that instead of focusing on getting more done, a great leader gets the right things done. So a lot of times you have to look at what people are doing. And I actually have this conversation with tons and tons of people, friends of mine. And what we usually are talking about is they have a lot of things, you know, most of the time when you're building and you start building with talented people, they have a lot of things they want to accomplish. They have a lot of things they want to do. But when you look at the list of stuff they want to do, what a leader usually does, and I'm not always the best at this and analyzing it in my own life, you have to realize what needs done in what order. You know, obviously to be able to build the house, you have to build the foundation first. Now, here's the thing. If you're an interior decorator, you want to start putting stuff upstairs. But if you don't build the foundation first, there is no upstairs. And that's a lot of times the conversation that I'm having with people is what needs to happen first. Yes, you want to be a speaker. Yes, you want to be a trainer. Yes, you want, you know, the respect of others. Yes, you want people to listen to you. But does it make sense before all that happens, you have to build the organization. Before the organization, sometimes you have to build the audience or you have to build a list. You know, people are like, I'm going to be a great presenter. I'm like, do you even have a list of people to go talk to? That would be first. So it's just the priorities of what to go do. You know, should I buy this course? I hear that a lot. Should I buy this course or go to this meeting? If you don't know the basics, learning some advanced technique isn't necessarily always going to work for you. So you want to start, you know, kind of adopting this phrase into what you do. Today, I'll do the right things. You know, I'm going to get the right things done. I'm not just going to get a lot done. I want to get the right things done. And what John goes on to say is if you consistently get the right things done, you don't have to go get a lot of things done. You just have to get the right things done consistently, and that'll start compounding in your life. We were talking about great books yesterday. Hi, Tina. We were talking about great books yesterday, and one of the books that was brought up was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And Darren Hardy in The Compound Effect says the things we do daily will start to add up and actually compound themselves like compounding interest. Making the right decisions is one of these. And, you know, I can raise both hands saying that many times I've focused on the wrong things. I've done the wrong things consistently wrong. And those things also compound in your life. So leading others to the law of priority. Number one, what's required? What's required? Some people do not understand what's required to build a network marketing business or an MLM. That they're looking at all these different factors, but in the end, the objective is to build an organization that buys a product or service. You know, in the end, what you're trying to do is build an organization that buys the product or service. Now, whether that's customers or actually people who got in, it's to build a base of people who buy whatever you're marketing. Network marketing. You're in a marketing company. Your objective is to market that product or service to as many people as possible. So sometimes it's just understanding the game you're in. Some people just do not understand the game they're in. What must I do that nobody can do for me? That's a good question to ask in MLM. What people, here's the thing, we can't personally develop you. You know, you have to develop yourself. A lot of people are like, well, just tell me what to do and I'll go figure it out. Well, the main thing that's messing you up is not the skill. It's not the skill. It's actually the mindset of how you're doing the skill that's messing you up. You know, the reason you're procrastinating, the reason you're putting things off, the reason you're doing things in the wrong order, the reason you keep getting yourself into trouble. Hi, Nancy. And I'm not directing that at Nancy. I just said hi, Nancy, because she just came on. The reason that happens is because that's not something that a leader can come in and fix for you. You have to kind of take personal responsibility and figure that one out for yourself. What gives you the greatest return? Something that I'll talk to a lot of people about. Ryan is with us. What's happening? So this is something I talk to people a lot about that come onto a team is what makes the greatest return? What can you do every day that gives you the greatest return? We talk a lot about this when we discuss actually presenting, which is going to be a topic this coming Sunday, presenting. And a lot of people say, well, shouldn't I do more parties? And I'm like, well, if you look at statistics and the numbers, 72% of people who get in direct sales get in on a one-on-one. 21% get in at a party, and about, what is that, 7% get in and they have no idea how they got in. You know, it has something to do, it just says other. Usually it's internet-based somehow. They came through clicking something. But if 7 out of 10 people get in direct sales at basically a, you know, one-on-one, and only 2 people out of 10 get in at a party, what that told me is, I just look at the numbers, is probably you're going to recruit a lot more people one-on-one. So you need to do a lot of one-on-ones. Does that mean you don't do parties? No, it doesn't mean you don't do parties. It means you do a lot of one-on-ones to get to a party. For every 7, watch this, for every 7 one-on-ones and 7 people coming in through one-on-ones, you'll probably end up with 2 parties. That's what it meant to me. And I was like, I started using that method, and that method, because I prioritized getting in front of people, that's when my business exploded. And that's when I was able to teach other people how to really make things happen. So what gives me my greatest return? What am I doing that can be done at least 80% as well by somebody else? You know, when you get into big business, we were talking about another book called Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. And I said, actually, I've had a bunch of people recommend not to read that in the beginning. And here's what I mean by that. When you don't know how to do something, outsourcing it is not what you need to learn how to do. You don't know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, watch this, you don't know how to hire it. That's what I was taught in construction. If you don't know how to put a window in, you don't know how to hire somebody to put a window in, because you have no idea what it takes. So what's going to happen is, because of your inexperience, you're going to hire somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. So to hire somebody that doesn't know what they're doing to do something that you're trying to save time on, will actually cost you 2 to 4 times as much time. Why? Because not only do you still need it done, but now you need to fix the problem that was created in the first place. So I was taught, get to 100 grand first and then read that book. That's what my mentors taught me. They said that book messes a lot of people up who do not have any experience in what they're doing. Now, I haven't read the book, so I don't know. Everybody can, you know, get their own input, but that was a conversation we had, because we were talking about exactly this, what can be done by somebody else. I have watched people do things that make no sense. And that's just something you kind of have to figure out on your own, what we call a low-paying activity. And people usually, let me say this right, people will usually do odds and ends that they think they're saving money on, when it really makes no sense. I'll give you a specific example of this. We had a seminar coming up, which a person who had a lot of people on their team had a few people coming to the seminar. And this person, instead of coming to the seminar, wanted to stay home and mow the grass. And I said, can we be real honest? He's like, yeah. I said, you want to get to a situation where you're out of work, right? Yes. I said, well, if you want to get to a situation where you're out of work and you're staying home to mow the grass instead of going to the seminar to teach everybody what to do, then what you're doing is you're trading an $8 to $10 an hour job for a $1 million business. I'm like, that makes no sense. I said, I understand you have the joy of doing it, you know, and some people, especially guys, we get into task-based things and we enjoy doing them because there's a sense of accomplishment. Even in mowing the grass, you can turn around and look and see the grass is mowed. When you build the business and you're out talking to people, you can't turn around and actually see people's, you know, sometimes you can see the light bulb come on, but you don't necessarily see the work right away. So you kind of have to know, you know, long-term what you're doing is going to pay off. So that would be an instance of, would it make sense to have somebody else can mow the grass at 80% as well as you can. It would make sense to pay somebody else $20 an hour, or $30. I'm not $20 an hour, $20 or $30 to mow the grass. He had a riding lawnmower too. I said, you know, I'm sure there's somebody who would love to, you know, drive the lawnmower, just because that's kind of fun, you know, especially for somebody who's a kid. Just make sure they're not running over your plants and things like that. But, you know, get somebody responsible and do it then and come to the meeting. That way you get both things accomplished, you know, and that would be a better use of money. Now, he also had money. So that was one of the things he had. He had money, but he didn't have time. And I'm like, you're using 4 or 5 hours to mow the grass instead of build your business. That makes absolutely no sense. And you're teaching your entire team the wrong activity. You're being a bad example for people. And it didn't take long before he was like, oh my gosh, I never even looked at that. Because I kind of was looking over just a list of stuff that he was doing on a regular basis because he was a big outdoors person and big like landscape person. And I'm like, look, this is what it's costing you to do this. And he was spending at least 20, 30 hours outside a week. He was kind of semi-retired, on a bunch of businesses, 5 incomes. And I'm like, it makes no sense what you're doing. I said, it does because you love the outdoors. His goal was to get outdoors. So he was doing his love, but he wasn't getting to where he wanted to go. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. That's an important lesson. Just because you can mow the yard doesn't mean you should mow the yard. Priority wise, just because you can, drive across the country, does that make sense right now to do? I see this a lot with new reps. They're like, oh my gosh, I sponsored somebody in Timbuktu. I think I need to go there. And I'm like, well, that would be smart to go there if that person was producing at a high level or, getting ready to run, or, hit the first level in the company. But why don't you make it a goal for something that they have to accomplish first before you, stop what you're doing, drive across the country, spend $1,000 to get there. And then you've sponsored one person. What are you possibly going to teach them? Get that person on the call. That way they can learn from the call like you did in the beginning. And then when you see them producing, we'll go out there together. And just because you can do something, I can leave right now, doesn't mean you should. What can I do that can be doubled or tripled on purpose? I'm just finishing the book 101, Success 101. I'll finish that book, and tomorrow I actually start the 10X. The 10X Factor by Grant Cardone. Many of you probably have seen or heard of Grant Cardone. His book 10X. He talks about this. Now I've watched or listened to the podcast or his audio of the book. So I've been listening to that. So I have, I don't know, about halfway through that book already, but I want to start reading it because the information was so good. I'm like, this is stuff I actually want to write down and take specific notes on. But one of the things he talks about is, what are you doing right now that you could 10X, and the results would be so overwhelming. You'd get out of your situation so fast. You'd make results happen so fast. And I always look at this as like practicing a sport. Practicing a sport or practicing music is a lot like this. If you practice piano 1 hour a week, it's probably not going to sound like music really soon. But if you 10X that factor, if you practice 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, it'd be amazing. You'd probably hear music by the end of the week. And the same thing is true in network marketing. The same thing is true in direct sales. The same thing is true in MLM, is if you practice presentations 1 hour a week or maybe 1 hour a month, because I found that people always say they're doing 4 times as much as what they're actually doing. So when somebody comes up and says, oh yeah, I showed it to a couple people this month, they showed it to one person 4 times, and had the same conversation over and over again. I see that happen a lot inside of direct sales. I said, okay, so where's your notebook that shows how many people you showed it to? Oh, I don't have that with me. I lost it. They always have, some weird reason why they don't have a tracking system for what they're doing. But they're upset at where they're at. They're upset, why it's not working for them, but they're not tracking what they're doing. So this would be a perfect situation that you really want to figure that out. Now, that's actually a leverage-based question. It says, what can I do that can be doubled or tripled? So that's a leverage. What can you leverage in your business that really makes it explode? Again, track what you're doing. And the funny thing is number 3, it says, what brings the greatest reward? What brings the greatest reward? You have to know what you're doing that brings the greatest reward and then track it. 4, it says, as a leader, it is a terrific advantage to be in a place to choose what you do. In a leadership position, hopefully you found yourself, when you grow big enough, you can actually find yourself in a position where you can pick what you want to do. You can pick to go expand more. You can pick to go out and help somebody. You can pick to fly across the country. You can pick what you're doing. Then it's actually even more important what you're doing, because then people are watching what you're doing. When you're new, there's nobody really watching what you're doing who's on your team to do it wrong. And what I've found is whatever you do right, people will do half of, and whatever you do wrong, people will double. I mean, it's not really a fair system at all, but building a business isn't necessarily supposed to be fair. It's just supposed to be profitable if you do it right. So with that, that's kind of the basics of the law of priority. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Bess to kind of get her insight on the law of priority, and then I'll be back with some more stuff.
Right.
Bess?
Thanks, Jeff. This is so good. Oh my goodness. So priorities mean to you as a network marketer, number one, that you identify, make sure you identify your vision. Number two, make sure that your activities align with that. And then number three, a takeaway I just got from Jeff is make sure you do those activities long enough. So those three things, your vision, your activities that align with it, and then doing that long enough till you get results. How long? Until you get results. So we know that now that busyness does not equal accomplishment. And just staying busy in your network marketing business, say, man, I put in 3 hours today, but what did I do? Well, I did some personal growth. I made some lists. I studied, I studied Grant Cardone. I studied Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn. It was a good day I put in. Well, actually, no. As far as results, those are what I call support work, supporting the activity, doing things to build you up or prepare, like getting your list or studying personal growth work or anything like that, or attending meetings or calls. Those are all support work for the main activity. But the only thing that really, really, really counts is the income producing activity, and that is doing presentations. So like Jeff said, track and monitor. Keep a little note, jot down how many times you do a presentation a day. That will determine your success, and that is the priority action. The other things are support actions. So how many P's a day, I call it when I coach people. How many P's a day? How many presentations? And you don't even have to track the result of you can, I hope you do track the results of the presentations, how many new customers, recruits I got this month and everything like that. But they will come down the road. It's just like planting seeds. The seed planter, the seed sower parable by Jim Rohn. You plant a lot of seeds and you never know which ones are going to come up. And in network marketing, you never know when they're going to come up. It could come up in 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, 20 years from now. A seed that you planted 20 years can come back to you. So don't get too hung up on the number of customers and recruits or worrying about that as much as you are planting the darn seeds. Just keep planting the seeds every day. And I hope that everybody does at least 2 P's a day to keep ahead of attrition in your group. And if you really want faster growth, 5. And if you're on a challenge, 10, along with the follow-ups, of course. Only do as many as you can follow up, or else it won't do you any good. And you can only do that for a limited time, 30, 60, or 90 days or something like that. But at least 2 to 5, I recommend, would be priorities for your activity. That's how you know you're doing the income producing activities and aligning your actions with your priorities. Now, priorities in network marketing is the presentations and then training your group, duplicating that. Now, when you make your calls, here's some priorities in making your calls. Don't just call anybody, but call first the people who are most influential. And Jeff had a great list on yesterday's show about his qualifications that he would definitely put these people at the top of his list. But generally, it would be people who have a great why, like they have a spouse, they have kids, they have a house payment, and that they're responsible, they have a job already, and hopefully that they're also entrepreneurial, and that they love people, they're good communicators, and they know a lot of people, they're influential. So these would be your prospects to call first, or people that you know that you'd like to get to them. Facebook makes that real easy to become friends with anybody. I'll tell you, you just support them, like them, comment, and you can acquire these top wonderful people that you would prioritize on making your calls. I have a little more too, but I'd like to hear what Jeff has to say now.
So priorities a lot of times has to do with time. A lot of times it has to do with how you're using your time. Prioritizing when you're going to do something, not what you're doing. When do you get it done? And one of the things that my mentors taught me was compressed time frames, meaning you want to do more of the right activity at the times that you're going to benefit the most from it. You know, some people are like, well, I could benefit, you know, I have all this time between 10 and 2 a.m. So that's when I'm going to do my business. When the reality is you probably should have shifted something else to the 10 to 2 a.m. and done more of the, you know, presentations, contacting, getting a hold of people during this other time. It just kind of depends. You know, we talk about, you know, having some balance, but also decompressing before you know, some people get off work at, you know, 5, 6, 7 o'clock and they need to decompress for 30 to 45 minutes, figure out, you know, prioritize what does it take to kind of get back mentally in the right position and then go again. Here's what I can tell you about priorities. 50% of all success is stuff you won't like doing. There's a big, I would say, there's a huge push inside of our industry, and there's a huge advertising and marketing campaign on Facebook constantly that I see, that it's all about finding your passion. If you find your passion, then this, that, and the other thing. And basically what I've found is most people are selling a sack of stuff out there. It's not necessarily loving everything. You won't like, I don't care if it's real estate. I don't care if it's direct sales. I don't care if it's insurance. I don't care if you're selling financials. You could be on Wall Street. 50% of everything you do to become successful, you will not like. What I was taught is prioritize to do that stuff and get that stuff out of the way first. There's a great book that goes over that called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And the easiest thing says this. You won't like to do certain things. If you know you're not going to like to do certain things, do them first. Get those things out of the way first. Prioritize those things first. That way they're done. I found this to be true in almost anything you want to be successful in. If you talk about working out, there'll be a couple body parts that you love to work out. You know, certain people love legs, certain people love arms, certain people love, you know, back, chest. But what I found is most people don't like to work the back of their shoulder. Why? You can't see it. It's a really tough muscle to work. You know, most people don't like working calves. You know, for some reason, it's like, well, they don't grow, they don't this, they don't that. You know, they're painful the next day, so I just won't work them. So you see a lot of people do that in, you know, everyday workouts. I see the same people doing that kind of stuff inside of direct sales, the stuff that they don't like doing, the stuff that's uncomfortable, the stuff that they can't see the payoff right away. That's the stuff they don't like doing. Everything else they love doing. Oh, I love buying a book. I love buying personal development. I love signing up for another seminar, but doing the work, I don't so much like. You know, contacting the new person, I don't so much like. I don't get good at that. So what I found is usually, not always, but in most cases, it's usually the stuff that you dislike doing, the 50% of the stuff you don't like doing. That's what you need to focus on the most. That's the priority stuff. So you might want to sit down with your mentor and ask, what are the real priorities? If you had to list things in priorities that make money inside the business, what would they be? And they're different. Watch this. They're different at different levels. What else do I want to talk about here? So that's really all I have. Those are the main 2 points. Compressed time frames, and 50% of all success you want will be on things you don't necessarily like doing. So with that, back to Bess. Do we have anything that we need to go over or wrap up, or anywhere we need to direct people?
Yeah, I meant to say hi to the people who are on here. Benny, Julie, Denise, Jacqueline, Marilyn, Kim, Erica, Michael, James O'Connell, who's a member of the MLM Millionaire Club and of our basics class, Alan, Andrea, Sue, Aviva, Don Fela, the grandfather of network marketing, Robert, Travis, Nancy, and now Thomas. Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for the likes and loves. We really appreciate that. Also, I'd love to know where you're from. I just love seeing where all the parts of the country or the world are coming together here. So let's see. Questions. In a minute, we'll answer questions or tips that you have, insights that you have. When have you found that setting priorities saved your business? Anybody have a story about that? So Why is it hard for leaders or for us to set priorities? Well, sometimes we confuse that busyness with the accomplishment. Sometimes, well, always, it's an effort, it's work to constantly think ahead and constantly climb that tree and see if am I in the right jungle? You know, compare it to where I want to go, and apply this to your team too. Where do I want to lead my team? Is my team going in the right direction? Constantly align with that highest vision. And number three reason, first is getting confused. Two is because, you know, it's hard to keep that constant attention. Number three is it's uncomfortable or painful. Like Jeff said, 50% of what you would need to do and is required, we probably won't like. So let's, you know, pony up and go ahead and expect and do that. A tip, identify an area in your life that's not working and solve that. That's a priority. And align it, of course, with your vision. Now, I think that Jeff and I are doing a very, very good service on his guidance of bringing the foundations to network marketers. We teach a basics class on Sunday nights. There is a small subscription for it. And to me, that is a priority that every network marketer would want to make sure that they're covering in their team, that they're bringing the foundation. These are the very, very most important things that we give on that class. It's 10 core commitments that have been used to build teams of millions over the years by top earners. This is not new. This is time and tested over many, many years. And those 10 core commitments are getting started right. Be here a year from now, professional development, market daily, present daily, attend a weekly presentation, attend a weekly core meeting, attend a monthly regional, attend all company conventions and events, and create a monthly action plan, a massive action plan monthly. So these include the 7 skills taught by Eric Worre in his GoPro book, and it includes the mindset. If a leader is doing these things, then I think their priorities are taken care of. We invite you to join us on that class. Check it out. Try one out. I'll put the link. Anybody have a question or a takeaway from today? Something that you will use in your business? Like mine is that do it long enough. Do it long enough. Give it a chance and don't just quit, you know, start and quit if it doesn't work after a few times or even a few months. Give it a year, folks. That's why we say on the 10 core, be here a year from now. Most professions will take 4 to 6 to 10 years of training in it to be successful, to earn a living that would be considered low by the top earners in network marketing. And the training in here is much shorter, brings greater returns. That's why I think network marketing could be a priority in anyone's life who has an aptitude for people and talking with people. It'll bring you the greatest return, speaking of priorities, the greatest return of any business that I know. And this is from a top business professor who's bought and sold 6 businesses, one at least in the $1 million range. He's a business professor at a university here in Kansas, a friend of mine. And he says of all the businesses that he has assessed and looked at, he was skeptical about network marketing, but now he's in it and loves it and teaches it. And he said this network marketing brings you the greatest return on your investment for time and money of any business in the world. So I think if you're in network marketing, you got a good priority straight right there. And turn it over to Jeff.
Well, guys, that's basically it. You know, law of priorities, you know, figure out what you need to do that's going to have the highest payoff return. It doesn't necessarily mean it's what you like. So make sure you write down, you know, everything that needs to get done. And then, you know, this might be a good assessment time is to figure out, you know, what do I really like doing and what do I not so much like doing? And then look at those 2 things and figure out which one has the highest payoff. You know, sometimes that is not what you want to see, but it's a good realization of what to go do. What I've always said, you know, is the best thing that you can be doing, the best priority you can do is work on yourself first. If nothing else gets done, you know, if you're prioritizing by working on yourself, personal development, learning a new skill. That's probably the best thing that you can do. And you need just to build yourself up until you get to a point where you start doing the activity. Here's the thing. You'll want to build yourself. Certain people want to build themselves to the point where they're doing it perfect. You'll never do it perfect. So get in the game as fast as possible. Mess it up for a little while. That's okay. That's why we have the skill set class that we do, is to be able to, hone some of those skills, save you some time, energy, and money from doing it. I need to work on doing that. I want to do first rather than putting off. Yeah. I mean, most of us do that. And then it's just, part of it's just becoming aware of what we are doing and what we're not doing. So that way we can change things around and get some more stuff done. So that's really all I have. Like this post, share it with somebody who needs, comment on it, tag somebody in it who needs to see it and say, hey, this would be a good idea to watch. We'd always appreciate that. And like always, tomorrow we'll be back at the same time, 12 Eastern Standard Time, 11 Central. And we're going to be going over law number 18, the law of sacrifice. And that means, sacrificing one skill for another. Obviously, it's not going to get that exciting. So people are like, wow, I want to watch that one. It's a good one for sure. Each one is amazing. But, some people, I know we put that up and people are like, what are they going to be doing tomorrow? So it's going to be really good. Yep, a list does help, but a list of the wrong stuff to do. Some people, I look at their list, I'm like, there's not a single thing on there that's going to help you build your business, but your list looks amazing and your handwriting is perfect. So sometimes it's just figuring out what to do. That's why a coach is so, so important. It's good to have it written down also, because you're tracking it. So again, list of priorities of what to do. So I appreciate everybody for being on. Thank you. Sunday, we will have our class that goes over the basics. If you want more information on that, we can put a link on this. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to put those in the comments. We do answer those throughout the day, and or instant message us if you have something directly to ask us. But we just appreciate everybody for being on. I hope this helps. Always give us your insight. We're always trying to learn how to do what we do better and get better so we can bring better information to you. So thank you guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk to everybody real soon.